If you start bringing more of these in, it's going to be even more problematic. We are going to have a character change in that community. And beside people that we don't know who's coming next week or the next 2 months, or, and it's very unsettling to people, and there are consequences. And I think that is certainly one of the things which is annoying for and could cause some issues for the residents that are there to feel like they can live the life that they've been used to. We can't control people's behaviors that are there as renters. The renters in the rental apartment can lead to noisy nuisance type behavioral situations. More of these things will likely evolve. There's 600 or 700 homes with all sorts of opportunities for different types. This does set a precedent, and some would call it a very negative precedent for this happening. That this is going to open up Pandora's box to something which will not be desirable in the neighborhoods that we cherish and want to grow with.
I'm saying the potential of becoming a high density island in a community with possibly, let's say, 8, 10, 12 residents residing in the home. The fact of the matter is that this is our community, and you have to listen to what people have to say.
You're only one real estate deal away from a short-term rental or their equivalent, and that's where we are. And if we don't get this now, we're going to have real issues down the road. I'm hopeful that my colleagues will be able to see that and appreciate it.
I have to say, I'm offended at some of the comments here tonight. Say there's too many people in a house. I don't think that was a fair or very nice comment. I don't think renters, once you become a renter, you're less than a human being either. I don't. You're one sale away from a new neighbor, and you never know who's going to come in there. So now all of a sudden we have to start dictating who's moving in. I really don't like some of the comments.
Councillor Veitch. Like Councillor Kane, I am very disappointed in your comments. And I have to say—
Point of order, Your Worship.
People's behaviors that are there as renters. So we basically have to deal with it. And it's more, I guess, the fact that the renters basically can lead, not because the owners want them to, but can lead to noisy nuisance type behavioral situations. And we've seen it. You've all seen it, and it happens. There's very little room there to move around with lots of people, and there are consequences. And I think that is certainly one of the things which is annoying for and could cause some issues for the people that live in that area. The other aspect too is this does set a precedent, and some would call it a very negative precedent for this happening and continuing and growing inside Horseshoe Valley. And I think that's something that is a real issue for our constituents. And again, in this particular area, more of these things will likely evolve. And that is a real concern. And the problem can be with that is that the neighbors are so close by. There is no privacy there already. If you start bringing more of these in, it's going to be even more problematic. So I guess the long and short of it is we are going to have a character change in that community, and it will be very impactful to our residents that are used to living in a quiet area. There's 600 or 700 homes with all sorts of opportunities for different types and potential rental opportunities. So this particular area is not a good area, in my opinion. And I think the residents that are there to feel like they can live the life that they've been used to. They come here, as we do, to live in a natural, rural, beautified environment, not to be in a lot of extra growth and beside people that we don't know who's coming next week or the next 2 months, or, you know, and it's very unsettling to people. And I think this is the thin edge of the wedge, and it's going to cause a lot of problems potentially for our constituents. And like someone said profoundly, you're only one real estate deal away from a short-term rental or their equivalent. And that's where we are. And if we don't get this now, we're going to have real issues down the road. I'm hopeful that my colleagues will be able to see that and appreciate it.
What's being proposed here is not an application in terms of saying, I want to have my family move with me. We're talking about somebody creating a basement for rental income is what we're talking about. We have no control over who that next person that comes in there or what they're likely to do. And quite frankly, I do not believe that the application to turn these into duplexes, which we're asking you to do, is a suitable thing for us to be doing.
I have to say, I'm offended at some of the comments here tonight. I'm just going to leave it at that. You know, you talk about you don't know who you're living next to. You're one sale away from a new neighbor and you never know who's going to come in there. So now all of a sudden we have to start dictating who's moving in. I really don't like some of the comments. Like I said, I'm very offended at how personal tonight has gotten. You never know who's going to move in next to you. You never know who you're moving in next to. You can ask anybody in the world, and I'm sure they've been surprised on some level with things that their neighbors do. I'm just going to leave it at that. You never do know who's going to move in next to you.
Councillor Veitch. Like Councillor Kane, I am very disappointed in your comments. And I have to say—
Point of order, Your Worship. Comments back and forth against councillors is inappropriate. We're here to talk about whether or not we are approving or disapproving something, not to get personally engaging and attacking other councillors.
I wasn't attacking another councillor. I was going to make comments on his comments. So Councillor Veitch stated, we have to deal with the renter's behavior. He also said, it's just not going to work, in referring to outdoor space and not having privacy in the backyard because of the size of the lots. He concluded with, we're going to have to face a character change. We're used to a quiet area, natural, rural, beautiful area, and that is changing. I can't support those comments regarding renters. Renters are people just like the rest of us. And for whatever, there's many reasons for people to rent. So I'm not quite sure what he meant by we have to deal with the renter's behavior. And that concerns me. I think that some of us who own our own homes and have for a long time and we're older, we forget what it's like to be young or separated and on a single income, and people need to be able to rent regardless of their income. And just because they are renters doesn't mean they have bad behavior. That was my point.
I don't think renters, once you become a renter, you're less than a human being either. I don't.
Councillor Veitch.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council and others. First of all, I want to thank you, Your Worship, for supporting the fact that this is going to open up Pandora's box to something which will not be desirable in the neighborhoods that we cherish and want to grow with. That's what we're trying to protect. And what this is, and the mayor is saying, this is where we're going if we don't sort of stop some of these things in their tracks. It only takes one to get going, and you blow this thing up and it's going to hurt, and it will hurt our whole value of living here in this area. I mean, you know, this is important stuff. And, you know, if we don't get it right, this will be a huge problem in our community, and it will mushroom. And, you know, perhaps these things are not meant to be in settlement areas like ours. We don't want to get it wrong. There's so much coming at us. It's going to be, it'll be a challenge just with that. And, you know, we have to at some point kind of close some of the floodgates on this and be able to think it through a bit more.
I don't know any family that I know, and not necessarily in this neighborhood, but anywhere, that only has one car. This house is could become a high density island. And I'm saying the potential of becoming a high density island in a community with possibly, let's say, 8, 10, 12 residents residing in the home. To deny this as a precedent setter is probably the way to go, because this is going to happen if this is approved. The fact of the matter is that this is our community, and you have to listen to what people have to say.
I feel that it's not our place as a council to start nitpicking how many people can reside. This isn't like a retirement village where when you buy and you drive in past the gates, you have regulations on what you can put on your door, what you can park in your driveway, if visitors can come overnight, how many people can stay overnight, all that sort of thing. These people have a home, and at some point to, I guess, say there's too many people in a house, I don't think that was a fair or very nice comment. Mr. Whitlet has crossed all the T's and dotted the I's in this report. So I feel that it is in line with all the policies, and I feel that we have no choice but to approve this.
But I certainly would agree to, at this point, deferring this until a time when we can do that, or basically I can't support this the way it is. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. And I think it will set a bad precedent, and it will grow and unfortunately turn into something which may not be wholesome for what we really want to do here, what we really thought we would live in a community that is a natural rural paradise for all of us. The constituents that have all waited and voted, given information to you and issues and so on, I think it's really not fair to them, Mr. Mayor, that we proceed with this at this point in time. This is, I think, something that we should consider a deferral for, and I would put that motion forward right now for returning to the next meeting.
From one of the constituents that lives on landscape, and that individual has indicated that there are 3 rental properties directly across the street from him. So it appears that there is still a lot of renting going on that's in the Horseshoe Valley, and the number of illegal apartments that some of the constituents have identified are also there. We have right now, we have 2 individuals, a husband and wife, that have come to council and come to this township to do things on the up and up. I recognize that when it comes down to emotional issues, which the tone of some of the emails clearly do indicate there is some emotion involved, that logic sometimes gets pushed out of the way. I have to do what's right for the entire municipality. And as such, looking at this and the fact that it has been approved by staff, that staff do support this, they're recommending approval, looking at the number of times this council as a body has done it in the past, I think that it would be extremely negligent financially from a fiscal responsibility point of view, because if this gets challenged at LPAT, we all know that there's a fee involved. That being said, I'm definitely going to be supporting this application that the proponents put forward.
I would like to put my motion to defer on the floor, please.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Greenlaw?
Could I ask for clarification on the reason for the deferral, please?
Yes, and perhaps length of time.
Length of time for review of new design, and opportunities for the residents to also understand what that is.
I'm just curious, it's a little vague, a length of time. Can we not just say the next meeting, or what are we looking at here? Length of time could be next year.
Councillor Veitch?
Depends what we want to get out of this, Councillor. So I would say to be determined by the committee. I mean, we need to understand the length of time it's going to take to do this. And I don't think it necessarily should be the next meeting. I think probably a couple of months to get us the opportunity to do that. Is that a problem?
Well, you put that in your motion and then we'll find out.
All right.
So
That's,
within 2 months?
within 2 months?
I'm curious, the reason for the deferral was so that you could let constituents see the differences from the first report to this report, correct?
That is a major portion of it for sure.
So what would the rest of the deferral be, if I may, your worship, just so that I'm clear on this before I go and support this? I want to make sure I've got the answers.
Yes.
You're asking for a deferral so that way your community, the ones that you've identified in that immediate area and whoever else is you want to discuss this with, you want them to be made aware of the change that staff put forward to us as changed by the proponent. Why would it take 2 months for everybody to see that?
Well, so what are you suggesting, Councillor, that we put it to the next meeting?
Well, if your intent for your deferral is just so that way your community can, the community that you're talking about, so that they can better understand the changes where the swale is not going to be affected and where the entranceway goes down through the garage. If that's the change, I don't know why we would need 2, 3 or whatever. I would think the next meeting.
Fair enough, Councillor. We can make it a month. We can make it at the next meeting. And I think we can get what we need in and get a vote at that point.
Councillor Veitch?
Mr. Mayor, I'm feeling that the majority would prefer to vote. That would be my sense on
Are you wanting to withdraw that?
I'll withdraw that. I think we should vote.
Okay.
Can I ask for clarification on process, please? If this motion were denied tonight, am I correct in assuming that these people would have a substantial LPAT? They could apply to LPAT, being as it meets all the standards of the PPS and all of that? Is that what would happen? And then we would have to pay to defend the denial? Is that the process that goes on after this, given a denial?
But you're correct. If it goes to an appeal, there will be an obligation for the decision of the committee to be defended at that hearing. And there is a cost for that.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're prepared to call the question. All those in favor of staff recommendation, that would be to approve. Opposed? I think my vote as a red one as well, so the motion is defeated.